Good morning, family. It's Erica with Not Your Average EDC, and today we are going to do an overview and just talk about one of my favorite knives of all time, the Spyderco Native 5 Lightweight. This is a knife that I feel like is completely slept on. Not enough people talk about it, so I really wanted to go over it and explain why I'm so obsessed with this model, especially lately, and why I think you, yes, you, should maybe try it. So, this is the Spyderco Native 5 Lightweight. There is also a regular version with G10 scales. I really like the one with the FRN scales. I just think the lightweight aspects and just the feel of it are better for me. I have a theory that when knives feel not as expensive, we are prone to use them more. So this knife is absolutely fantastic, and the ergonomics are really great, but it does feel kind of like, not cheap per se, but just, well, it doesn't feel like a Chris Reeve. And I think that convinces our brains to be able to use it a little bit more, which kind of fuels that use your shit mentality. So, I really like the FRN scales. They're very durable. Kind of just the overall build is right up my alley. Let's just talk about a couple specs real quick and do some size comparisons, and then we're going to get into why this is so special. So the blade length is 2.95 inches. Overall length is a little bit under 7. It's like 6.9, something like that. This one is in S90V, but you can get them in literally any flavor you want. The stock clip that it comes with looks like this, and I tend to throw some type of deep carry clip on it just because I have found that these have a little better retention than the stock clip. So there are really good offerings on deep carry clips from MXG Gear and Lynch Northwest. Cool how they put the little logo here. That way when you do hook up a clip to it, it kind of rests on there and it doesn't chew up your pocket when you're putting it in and out. Genius idea. These are little things that a lot of people overlook, but when the clip rests on that, you're not shredding your pants on this bi-directional texturing, putting it in and out of pocket. That is huge for me. And they executed this very nicely, putting that logo on both sides. It makes sense. It looks good. If you're a lefty and you hook your clip up on this side, literally identical to that side. It's honestly genius. Let's just bring in a few size comparison knives. Right here we have a Spyderco Pair 3 in Maximate. As you can see, they're pretty close in size. The Native is just a little longer, but let's just compare cutting length real quick, because that's what actually matters, is how much edge you have. So that is pretty close. Let's bring in a Benchmade bug out. Everybody knows and loves the bug out. Again, very similar. You definitely have more cutting edge on the bug out. What about a TRM Neutron 2? Native has a little more length, but actual cutting edge, TRM has more. And everybody knows the size of a classic kind of Swiss Army knife here. So the Native 5 Lightweight is a really small knife. I mean, the handle is literally the size of a Swiss Army knife. So it's pretty small, which is good because it's pocketable and you're not going to carry a 9-inch long machete in your pocket if you're a normal person. So this is kind of like a perfect EDC length in my opinion. It is crazy pocketable. and very comfortable in the hand. Kind of has everything going for it. This thing is driving me nuts right here. Sorry. Just keeps flopping around. Okay. Let's talk about the pros of this knife. So, I think that this blade shape, stock thickness, all that stuff is one of the best that I've ever used. I've used a lot of knives, and for everyday tasks, this blade shape is really useful. I like that it's simple. I like that it doesn't have any crazy recurve, tanto, anything like that. You have a nice tip for piercing, a very simplistic edge, and in my opinion, a stock thickness that is literally just right. It's slicey, it moves through material with ease and very efficiently. However, it's not too thin where you feel like you're compromised with strength. With it, Zadie, that's enough. With one of the knives like the TRM Neutron, it can make you feel like it's a little too thin. But the Native just doesn't do that for me. It feels very robust. It feels really rugged and strong. I think partly due to the fact that it's a lockback, it just feels very rigid and solid and like it won't give out on you, even though it is very slicey and really in a lot of ways like the TRM Neutron. I just feel like this feels more featherweight and more light use because of the way it's built, because of the liner lock, because of the blade stock thickness. It just feels like a featherweight knife, and this one kind of tells you like, hey, don't push me too far, I might break. Whereas the Native 5 has a lot of the same aspects and efficiency as the TRM, but in kind of like a stronger, more rugged package. I mean, these FRN scales are indestructible. If you drop this, it's not going to chip or break or anything. Like, this is a really durable, rugged knife. The lockback is insanely strong. You have no blade play in any direction. You know this isn't going to give out on you. And it's very slicey, but if you need to do a more rugged task, you have all of the capability there. And I really like that forward choil with that jimping. Spyderco does some of the best jimping in my opinion. That just locks your hand in. So this has so many aspects of a featherweight knife, but built into an extremely rugged, durable, and useful package. So, tons of pros with this knife. The construction is very easy to take apart. Like, literally, it takes 2 seconds to take this apart, clean it. There aren't really any parts to it. I have taken this apart and cleaned the blade, done a blade swap, obviously, because these are the Spy 27 scales, and I put the S90V blade in there. Really easy to take apart, put back together, clean these scales out if they get dirty, all that good stuff. Jimping is fantastic. Now, as you have probably noticed, I put a sharpening choil in there. I do that with all of my knives, especially from Spyderco. At least for me, I have a very hard time accessing this heel area when I'm sharpening if I do not have a choil in there. So I take a Dremel cutting wheel and just nick that and make a really small choil that won't get hung up on anything. When you do that, it makes sharpening these an absolute dream. Yeah, love the blade shape, love the thickness, love the full flat grind, love the forward choil, the jimping. The scales, it's extremely lightweight. That logo is placed perfectly. Everything about this is a home run, and I think that people overlook it because it's FRN, and it's a backlock. Cons. Are there any? No, not really. This knife is honestly perfect in my opinion. It is perfect if you're somebody that actually uses your knives. Is it fidgety? Nope. Does it have any fancy bells and whistles? No. But it's rugged as fuck. I mean, that is just not moving. And yes, I have done light prying with these knives. It was completely unbothered. And for a back lock, they're really smooth. All of the native 5 lightweights that I've had are smooth, guys. You disengage that lock, and it just falls, and you pull it right in. I have not had any of these that were not like that, and I've had, I think, 7 of them roll through my collection. They're seriously like the ultimate work knife, because they can take on hard use. I've done it. One of the really cool things about these two is that you have options that are like completely stain resistant. So the blade that originally came in this one was a Spy 27 blade. That steel is a steel that Spyderco actually created with Crucible, and it is as stainless as you can get, really. They are doing the new Salt series in Magna Cut, which again, basically stainless. It is stainless. They were being made in LC200N. They still are, but I think they changed the scales over to like the green scales, and now they're moving forward with Magna Cut blades in the yellow scales. But LC200N, completely stainless. I've tested this one. I literally left produce juices and water and all that in it for days, completely unbothered. So the cool thing about them too is that you can use this for literally anything, including food prep if that's something that you do. And if you get one of these super stainless steels like the Spy 27, LC200N, or Magna Cut, you do not have to worry about getting crap stuck in there and having to clean it out immediately. Like if you're on a camping trip and you take one of these, or a beach trip, and you get stuff stuck in here, or even on the blade, you do not have to worry about cleaning it immediately, because if you get one of these stainless models, it's just not going to rust or patina or anything, so you don't even have to worry about it. It's a very low maintenance knife is what I'm getting at. Especially with the FRN scales. These aren't going to rust, they're not going to patina, they're not going to do shit. It's a super low maintenance knife if you're somebody that just wants a knife that's going to work for you, and you don't have to dick around with it all week, and you can sharpen it and take care of it and clean it whenever you get to it. I really don't see any cons with this knife. I mean, like I said, I've had 7 of them. I cannot think of any cons other than maybe these corners could be a little more rounded. And the stock clip isn't bad, but it just kind of like leaves room for desire, I guess. It's just a little, I don't know, boring. The retention isn't like the best, but it's really not too bad. But yeah, maybe just rounding these corners a little more. And in hand, they feel fine. But I will say, if you have the pleasure of getting a fully modded one like this with the rounded edges, that's when you really realize, dang, I wish Spyderco would just do that. Because this one is fully modded, and we'll just move these out of frame for a second. I didn't realize how nice these felt until I got one that had the sanded edges. So this Native 5 is fully modded. We have sandblasted hardware, regrind blade that is crazy fucking thin. This blade has gone through a hot vinegar patina. Everything has been smoothed out, sanded. And the clip was also worked on, but I switched the clip out and put it on a different native. So this one has an MXG gear clip. But everything about this has been kind of like worked on. This feels like, woo, feels like we're about to fall over. This feels like literally the perfect knife to me, especially with these mods. It's perfect. It literally feels like a cloud in your hand when you're holding it. Oh, he rounded, I think he rounded this off too. Yeah, he rounded like the jimping area. Sorry, let's try to fix this real quick because we fell over. There we go. So yeah, if you have the ability to kind of round out those edges, I mean, it literally makes the knife perfect. You don't feel anything with this one. So yeah, no cons really that I can think of. I think this model is super underrated. I guess you could call the lack of sharpening choil a con, but you can literally put that in yourself within 2 seconds. With a Dremel tool and the little cutting wheel that it has, you can add one of those yourself. Best use for these knives, everyday carry, 100%. I've tested this model a lot. It is such a good EDC knife. There's nothing about it that leaves you wanting more. And if you can get over the FRN scales, it is literally a dream to use and a low maintenance knife. And I love that it has the FRN scales because if you drop this, if you're like working in a blue collar field or something and you tend to be rough on your knives, or maybe you drop them on concrete sometimes, or bang them up against ladders, or slide them over to a coworker on a rooftop, these are not going to be harmed at all. I love the FRN scales. They're absolutely indestructible. So, best use, EDC, 100%. Food prep is a dream with these. Like I said, you can just give it a quick rinse, especially if you have one of those fully stainless blades. You don't have to worry about it. The ultimate cardboard slicer. It is absolutely a light use pry bar and separating tool. You can drill with it if it is not a regrind like this one. And sharpening the native is absolutely so fun. Really easy to sharpen that blade. It's under 3 inches, so it doesn't take a lot of time at all. That blade shape is incredible on the stones. It's very easy to set your angle because this flat grind and the thinness just make it very easy to locate that edge angle. I have sharpened out of these. I sharpened that one. I've sharpened that one. Took very little time. Spyderco does a really, really nice job on their heat treat with any of their stales, really. The heat treat is on point. Excuse my dog dreaming. I don't know if you can hear her. She's dreaming. Their heat treat is incredible. All of them are just super easy to sharpen. And I do have sharpening videos up, guys. They're under my sharpening playlist. So yeah, I can really recommend the Native 5 Lightweight. Check out Lynch Northwest for these deep carry clips or MXG gear. They do really nice deep carry clips. Just make sure that you select the Native 5 model because this does not have the same configuration with the screw setup as normal Spydercos. So what I mean is you cannot buy like a deep carry clip from Lynch Northwest for a Para 3 and think that it's going to fit the native series, because it will not. The screws on the native 5 are way more far apart than your typical Para 3 or Delica. See how close together those are on this one? So just make sure that you buy a clip that specifically states it's for the native 5, because they are not the same, even though they're from the same company. They do not have the same screw configuration, which actually maybe could be a con. Just fucking do the same configuration for all of your models. That way you don't have to have 10,000 different types of clips, right? That maybe that's a con, because I will say Benchmade, for the most part, you can swap out clips from most of their models and they will fit each other, because they all have the same milling for the pocket clip. Spyderco does like all different types for the Para 3 and the native 5 and the Shaman, and it just keep them all the same. Maybe that would be easier for people, but other than that, I really can't think of any cons for this. Let me know down in the comments if you have any other questions. This is really just to try to convince you guys to try a native 5 lightweight, because it's one of my favorite EDC knives of all time. But let me know if you have one, if you've been wanting to try one. Let me know what you think. I will see you guys on the next video. Go use your shit. And I mean really use it. I will see you guys soon. Love you all. Peace, motherfuckers.